Hello world, welcome back to the UnChristian podcast. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for joining us today as always. A Friday with the UnChristian podcast episode is a good Friday. So you being here means a great deal to us. Wherever you're watching from around the world, we appreciate you and we thank you for the support. Please continue to share this content, comment and leave us your thoughts. And also subscribe to the channel. Don't be just a visitor, but join the family. Today we're going to have a very interesting conversation as always. In recent times we've been seeing an escalation in incidences of crime in the church, where the church has become a soft target really for criminal elements. We've seen armed robberies. We've seen and sometimes there's even a threat where pastors and leaders can be abducted for ransom. We've seen break-ins to church where the people come in and they strip the church of their equipment and all of that. There is indeed a conversation to be held about church security. When we see pastors travel with a security detail, bodyguards, are they trying to be flashy? Are they trying to be celebrities? When we see guns in the church, is it unholy? Does it quench the Holy Spirit? Are we carnal? Today we're going to have that conversation and we're going to break down some of these issues and perhaps give advice on what we can do to improve our security situation in church. With me today is a great friend of mine for years, but I'm only meeting for the first time today because of social media. By the name of Sandile Khanyile. He is a security expert, both in the church but also outside there. He does a lot of work with high profile people in terms of security, and he's got a keen interest and passion in the issue of church security. So we're going to have that discussion with you. My brother, finally we meet.
No, thank you for coming. Thank you. No, it's been a decade coming.
Come on, yeah.
It's better late than never. No, we're here. So speaking. No, thanks, Puta.
Yeah, man.
So no, thank you, man, for welcoming me.
Thank you so much.
Into your space.
Yeah, man.
It's a very, very interesting topic.
Yeah.
And I think let's not hold back.
Yeah, let's go in. Let's go into all the way.
I think let's do it.
Yeah.
And let's bring, I think, the realities of what's going on there, right?
And
what we can do.
Yeah.
To change the situation.
Absolutely.
Around. Yeah.
I must commend you on your consistency in fitness. You look good, man.
It's the pressure, man. It's industry. Some contracting companies that you actually work for, they actually have some sort of like fitness requirement. Believe it or not, right?
To look a certain way.
I think it's the numbers that speak. Right? I mean, you can look like a machine, but if you can't run, if you can't do So some entities do require like fitness evaluations.
Great.
On the spot, it should be like, okay, we've got a contract for the next 3 months.
Yeah.
In 3 days, the fitness evaluation come.
Wow.
If you pass, you in. If not, well, try again next year.
Yeah.
So there's always that pressure. And I think also just meant, the stresses that this industry comes with. But there's a lot of things that people don't see. And if you don't have a way out, we've had unfortunate incidents where protectors they delete themselves, man.
No way, man.
Yeah, because of the pressures, right? The pressures are real because
it's a hot job.
You're living, I won't say living a life, but you're not living your life.
Yes.
Right? You're living somebody else's life.
Yes.
And then maybe, let's say you're on the road for 6 months.
Yes.
Then you come home, you're like, wait a second, I don't have a Bentley.
Ish.
I don't live in a mansion in Southern California.
Yes.
Yes. Right.
That was just work.
That was work.
It was nice to drive that, but
work. And when I get off that plane at Old Tambo, I'm like, yo, go to
yeah.
Right. So if you don't have your way out, man, you're gonna be in trouble. And I've just found, I think, fitness to be my way to just kind of keep saying. Yeah.
What kind of training did you have to undergo over the years to keep you sharp and on the cutting edge of being able to deliver for your job?
Yeah. Right. Okay. So I come from corporate. Actually, I was in corporate for 7 years, and then I'll say that security found me, right? So I started security in the church.
Okay.
My first, and I said security gig was in the church. I went to a local church, in Durban. I was involved.
Sure.
I was an usher.
Sure.
And then we used to have annual conferences. And so before that, I remember I got out of church the one day. We had a bookshop, and I see this pastor and the bookshop, like on TV. I'm like, Lord, one day I want to work for that man. I didn't even know who he was, right? Fast forward 2 years, I'm in a service. God moves. I go for prayer, and the word was, God is going to take you around the world doing something. And I'm like, yeah, it doesn't make sense. Okay, cool. 2-3 years after that, I found myself volunteering at a church conference, only to end up driving a protection detail of one of the guest speakers. And then from that, I left corporate. And I found myself just traveling, doing this, and then I got into the formal training. So the training that I've done, I've done about 3 different institutions around the world. So here in South Africa, 2 in South Africa, 1 in Serbia. And I did that because there is actually, believe it or not, qualifications to what we do, right? There's formal training, just like everybody goes to university and gets a degree to do this. There is formal education and training that you have to do for this.
It's not just about being a big guy who can intimidate people. There's actually method to what you're doing.
Look, if I say, in fact, the big guy has his place, right? But it's got, and I'll say absolutely nothing with that, because some of the best protectors that I've worked with were women smaller than me.
Wow. and they were
machines. They were machines, right? Because they knew the job, right? The job is not. It's not about the muscle, how scary you can look. In most details where I've been one of the smallest guys there.
No way.
Right? Because it's not about that. Right? It has its merit. It has its place depending on the environment you're working in, the exposure you want to get, and stuff like that. But look, it's your brain, man. 99% of it, it's the brain matter. It's the planning, putting measures in place. And then if you fail to do that, then it's the 1% of brawn that has to get you out of situations. But I'll tell you, for most guys, we've never been in those situations. But we prepare for them. Because
anything can happen.
And it happens like this. It's the 99% boredom, but it's the 1% of hell. so you prepare for that, right? But look, it's not about the muscle and the brawn. It's about the planning behind it and the brain power.
That's amazing stuff, man. And you, like you said, your job is taking you around the world. You've been part of security details for some really high-profile people.
Been very fortunate.
What does it take to say to yourself, I'm going to put myself in a position where I could possibly take a bullet for someone? That
Look, the interesting thing is for the outside world, it's that mentality of, I'm willing to take a bullet for someone, right? But for me, the scariest part is, how was I there when the bullet was fired? What did I miss? Did I do everything I can to make sure that, firstly, I'm not there? Or if that bullet is fired, it doesn't hit me and it doesn't hit my client. Right? So it takes, I think, a special breed of people. Like, I think you got to have that protector heart in you. Whether, from a young age, you've just been the one that's against the bullies. Or for me, I enter through service, because it's a big service element, right? It's a massive service element. So you gotta have, I think, a heart of, I think, in Christian circles we call it a what's the word? A servant. I'll find it, but it's a specific servant, like a servant heart. That's what it takes.
I get you, man.
Because then as a servant, you're willing to put yourself in the front line and be that buffer between the good and the bad. Right? So I think you got to have that heart of a servant.
I get you.
And of selflessness. But also knowing that, hey, if I go down, then it's a problem. Then the person I'm protecting is vulnerable, right? So I must be the protector to me first. I must keep me safe before I can keep the other person safe.
I get you, man. Let's get into this. What is the security situation in churches? Like, is there a threat? We know of these incidences. Someone might say these are isolated incidences, but in generally, are we seeing a trend? Are we seeing the beginning of a trend right now?
Yeah.
Where, I mean, think about cash in transit heists. They started, it wasn't as many as they are right now. There was a beginning of a trend. Are we, do you think in your analysis we are there where we are at the start of a trend like that?
Look, I'll say it's worse than what it's been before, but it's always been this. Social media is just showing us.
Yes.
That's the thing. Social media is just now showing what's happening in real life. So whereas before social media was so massive, what used to happen is if something happens, it's contained here. Hey, let's not even tell the cops about it. Let's see, let's hush. If something happens in the church, let's pull the person, in the back room. Let's counsel them, maybe the victim. So it's always been there, but the church has managed to hide it away to keep that image of everything is rosy, right? But when you look at countries like, especially first world countries in the US, right, where I've spent like a lot of time doing church security, that's, I won't say it's a norm, but it's known, man. It's known that, hey, this thing is serious. This is real. Right, I mean, churches get burnt down. Awesome. People throw petrol bombs at churches. People will come and spray like derogatory stuff on church buildings. I mean, shootings in American churches have been really painful. I think there's one I think I'll never forget, where I think about 15 people, if I'm not mistaken, lost their lives. I mean, imagine somebody who walks into a church, they're wearing like army clothing. Nobody spots the person with a rifle, and they just shoot people, right? Sad, and the sad thing there, I think one of the people that lost their lives was a pregnant lady of the guest speaker. Right, so these things, I mean, this one just stands out for me. I'm not trying to scare people. I mean, it's what happened.
Were you there?
No.
You just heard about it.
But I was in the US when it happened. But I was just in a different different states, different city, doing my own thing. Man. Right, but these things happen way more than we think. Yeah. And in other parts of the world, it's taken really seriously, right? It's not a church issue. It's a places of worship.
That's right, yeah, because even in Muslim mosques,
the same thing.
Temples,
Jewish synagogues.
Yes.
Look, if you go to Israel, if you see the security that it's synagogues, they don't play. They don't play because they know, right? Because they know that it goes down.
They say one of the safest places in the world is the Vatican.
Yeah.
Where the Pope is.
Yeah.
The security detail of the Pope is crazy.
Dude, it's hectic because they understand the threats are there, right? Yeah. And the biggest threat to, I think, let's bring it back to our context. The biggest threat here, it's not the guy with the gun. The biggest threat is the man of God behind the pulpit that's in denial. Ooh. That is the biggest threat.
That is important for us.
Right? Somebody that thinks it will never happen to me. Ooh. I'm gonna pray it away. God is gonna protect my building. I'm like, okay. So all the other churches around the world, do you think they were not praying hard enough? Was God not there? Were the angels asleep? So I've concluded that the biggest threat is the man that's in denial that this can happen to the congregation that God has trusted me with.
Sometimes, although we succumb to the pressure, right, of the congregation.
Yeah.
To say, Pastor, if you say I can pray for God to protect me,
why
aren't you praying for protection? Why do you need a man or two or three around you to protect you? And there's that tension and dilemma. And then we succumb to it.
Look, and you can't afford to succumb to it because that very same person that's saying that has got their car with an alarm system and it's locked. Yes. That same person has got dogs and high-rise walls in their house.
Yes.
Right? So that argument for me, I don't even entertain those arguments, right? Because it's not even worth it.
Yeah.
Because anything that you value, you put some sort of measures in place to make sure that if the lifespan of this is 30 years, you want to make sure that every one of those days in those 30 years is used up. You're not going to say, well, but because it's a spiritual matter, let's give it a chance and see what's going to happen. Right? It's not approaching it in good faith.
Yes.
And because also pastors don't have the ability to actually explain this, then they succumb to the pressure. Right. Also, they are board members, they are ushers, they're everyone else. They've got no understanding of what this is because it's never been spoken about. So therefore, the pushback is there. Not understanding that it's important for you to look after, the church first, but also this person Because it's one man that God has called. God hasn't called the board. God hasn't called the ushers, the leaders, the people that are signing the big checks. No, they are all there because of the one man of God that said yes, right?
Yes.
And once there's that understanding and we have these conversations and enlighten people of what do we actually do?
Exactly.
Because I think that's the one thing.
Education is the key.
Yeah, 100%. Right? And understanding that security professionals are professionals. Just like the HR manager, just like the CA, just like the accountant, the doctor, the surgeon. This is not just a fly-by-night thing that just happens, right? We are trained professionals, and professional service providers.
Yes. I get that. Man, a church is thinking, all right, wow, I hear what you're saying, but how do we know if there is a security threat?
Yeah.
Do we need to consult a security analyst or a professional? How do you know? I'm a church in Mamelodi, I'm a church in Soweto. How do I actually measure and quantify this? Yeah, security threat analysis.
Yeah. Look, the moment there's something valuable in a place is a threat.
Okay.
The moment there's one person that walks into your premises, automatically that person has got something of value.
There's a threat
as a start. There's something of value in that person just being there. Whether they've got anything of materialistic value or not, that's just another component in it. So by default, it's always a threat.
Sure.
Right? Sure. And it's just a matter of what threat is it? Now let's drill down into the environment where you are. What crimes take place in that place?
So you must research that.
Right. Get a security. The best thing, get 2 or 3, maybe 4 or 5 different security consultant companies just to come and treat this as a normal venue. Because the mistake I think that we make, and I'll say we as the church, is we think, well, it's the church is going to be different. No, just treat it as a normal venue. As a start, treat it as it's a normal venue that holds an event every Sunday between X time and X time. And when it's empty, it's got people coming in and out. It's got expensive equipment. It's got staff that's here. Maybe some churches have got staff Tuesday to Friday because Monday's a rest day, however the flow is. So treat it as a corporate office. For me, that's the first start. Don't think of it it's a church, therefore it's different.
We assume that people respect the church, that they've got this high respect for the church, so they wouldn't try anything with us because but not these days.
You know when undo the threats on churches are different, slightly different. I'll say some are different to a normal outside building, right? Because also remember, the church we want to attract the angry, disgruntled, drug addict, everything person, right? So what you find sometimes is the threat is not really the guy that's coming with the gun to shoot people. Yes, of course, that does happen, right? But sometimes some of your biggest threat, it's domestic. It's the person that's really coming legit for help in the church. And you find that they can't help and they'll flip out and they'll slap the guy that's in the front building. Or they'll, take a gun and because they want to delete themselves. Or so the church is supposed to bring the broken, and it's the broken that do these hideous things that we see, right? So we must attract the people that we want to be healed in the church, but we must make it a safe space for the people now offering the assistance
to these people.
So for an example, if you coming to a church and somebody wants counseling, right? Obviously the person's got problems already, that's why they want counseling, but not depending on the depth of what the problem is, it's going to determine maybe where they are emotionally, spiritually, every other else, and that person can flip out at the counselor and want to choke them out. Something as basic as that. Let's not even talk about the guy coming on Sunday with the gun. Something as simple as that.
And you can't even see it coming sometimes.
No, you don't, right? So if you don't have some sort of just basic even screening processes, there's no 20 security, no, just how do you screen people that are coming for counseling when they're coming to a church when there's nobody there? It's just 3 counselors that are coming in. How do you screen that?
My goodness.
So the depth of this, unfortunately, what we're seeing on media, it's the big things in terms of we're gonna get to that one. In terms of it's the weapons, but imagine I'll paint you a scenario. It's a Sunday morning, a couple has been fighting for 2-3 months. It's a marital dispute. Okay, dad has packed his bags, he's left. The kid has got a massive bond with dad. The kid loves mom and dad. Sunday morning, they live in separate places. Mom takes the kid 3-year-old cute daughter to Sunday school, drops them off. Love you, mommy. I'll be back later on. Dad is okay. Service is gonna go on for 2 hours. Okay, I'm gonna go pick up my daughter from Sunday school. Dad wasn't at church. He hasn't been at church. He misses his daughter. His daughter misses daddy. He rocks up to the Sunday school teacher. How, Mr. Smith? We haven't seen you. No, I've been away from work. I'm just here to pick up Usma. Daddy. Oh, let's go. No, guys. Okay, no, we're gonna go. No, guys, love you guys. Go. Daddy, nice to see you. Go. Service is over. The parent comes to pick up their daughter. The daughter is gone.
Yo.
My daughter's been kidnapped. That's the first thing. That alone is an element of security. So something as basic and as simple as that, it's a marital dispute. Maybe the church knows, maybe it doesn't know, right? So how do you even stop things like that? That the Sunday school premises are protected from sometimes the parents themselves.
Because children are part of the most vulnerable. In any community.
Right. So something as simple as that, there's no gun that has been drawn, there's no violence, it's a marital issue. The kid loves both parents. One has dropped them off, dropped the one off, and the one picked them up. It's according to the kid, it's a perfect picture. I've missed daddy. Mommy comes, the church has lost my child. Put that on social media. And then it says, and meanwhile, the pastor's got 5 bodyguards working with him, but they can't protect a little child in Sunday school. Good luck with your image. I'm serious.
Exactly.
Right? So the depth of it is, man, you got to look at all components right, of the church. That what are you protecting? Right? You're protecting the image of the church. You're protecting the assets of the church. You're protecting the people that are there. You're protecting the congregant members from the outside and from each other, right? And you're also protecting the man that God has trusted to be there. So there's layers in what's being protected and who's being protected. You're protecting the cars that are parked outside. I mean, I've worked for a ministry where we used to have cars get lost in the parking lot.
In the parking lot of the church?
Yeah. Wow. In the parking lot of the church. And this was the funny thing. Then, then I come on board, we start putting measures in place to kind of see, okay, where is this loophole? Guess who I fought with the most? The people whose cars are getting stolen. Now you're wasting our time with these measures. I'm like, wait, but your cars are getting stolen. So
I'm trying to help you.
But me helping you, it is going to inconvenience you. It has to, because that's the only way it's going to do it.
We are trying to solve a problem here.
Trying to solve a problem.
My first encounter with church security, I was, I lived in Bloemfontein for a while, so I'm pastoring there. And every Sunday, I'm ministering to about 400 to maybe 700 young people. And I'm preaching one Sunday, preaching powerfully. A young lady is in the service, gets convicted by the word of God, decides to change her life and commit her life to God. And she feels that she has to go break up with her boyfriend because of whatever was happening, what God said to her. During the week, I get a call from the boyfriend. And he threatens. He says, Sunday, I'm coming for you. When you're making our girlfriends dump us, we are going to church.
It's not me,
man. Because of what stuff you say. And I get a threat. And I'm coming for you on Sunday. I know. We said, be careful, I'm coming. I'll be there. That's my first threat of security. And then other thing, we have a guest from the US preaching in the same scenario at a conference. The venue is packed, overflowing. And some girl is in the spirit. She's worshiping and she's crying and she's lifting up her hands, praying to God, and then she walks up into the stage. The guest speaker is done preaching. He's standing there in the front seat now, where his seat is. And so the senior pastor is there, probably closing off and whatever. And this girl is singing, she's worshiping, and we're all focusing on God. This girl comes up the stage, and for some reason, she stage dives to the guest speaker. Flies to emotionally, in the spirit. I don't know what was going on. And we're like so embarrassed. And she lands on the guy.
Stop it.
Yes! Lands on him.
My mind right now just went boo.
Unfortunately, the guy was a bit tall, and he didn't fall. Managed to catch her. But what an embarrassment to us.
So imagine if that pastor was smaller, she falls on him and his spine breaks in half. Right. Funny enough, you just reminded me of an incident. I've never even, maybe I've spoken about it once.
Yeah.
Similar scenario. I'm at a church, and so I'm stage left, looking into at the audience.
Sure.
My pastor is preaching.
Yeah.
And I just see this massive human being walking down the aisle. I'm like, this cannot be what I think it's gonna be. Oh, the guy just walks. No usher stops him. No one does anything. He just walks. He walks. Okay, up the stairs. I'm like,
up the stairs to the stage.
Yes, to stage. Yeah. So he enters stage right. I'm stage left.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's either I commit now or I don't. I literally sprint across. I probably sidestep my pastor, and I just pick this guy up. I put him on my shoulder, and I find the nearest door. I walk him out. I throw him out, and I throw the door. And you could see he wasn't there. So in that state, you think, what could have
that
happened? Person? Because you could see he's not there.
Yeah. So you are showing me, with all that you've said, actually, you're showing me that the majority of your job is prevention.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Right.
Yeah.
So what we really do when I'm doing so is, it's planning. See, what people see is a pastor or anybody working with a protection team. Whether that's one person, two people, or whatever it is, the rest determines that. But that's the easiest part of it. And I'll say it's the easiest because, you can get anybody to wear a suit and walk behind somebody, right?
Yeah.
You can really do that. But there's a massive element of planning. So there's something we call advance work.
Yes.
So let's say you're going to 3 locations in Cape Town. You're going to be ministering maybe Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So maybe one of your team members, I'll go to Cape Town the day before, literally. But also remember, out of those 3 locations where you're going to be preaching, you're also going to be doing social things.
Yes.
You're going to be going to restaurants, doing maybe other meetings, smaller engagements.
Yeah.
So every venue that you're going to be, our rule of thumb in a perfect world is one of your team members should have been there beforehand to know exactly what it looks like, the layout. Where do we drop you off? Where do we walk in? Who do we meet? So when I make sure we're meeting the right person at the right place, taking you into the right corner of that building to make sure that you're not wasting your time, right? So we meet people in advance. Okay, we're coming here on behalf of whatever pseudonym we give. At restaurants, we do the same thing. We look at the menu. Okay, is there anything you're allergic to? Okay, if it's not, if it is, okay, can we remove certain things from the menu? So there's so much depth in it, in the planning, that's where we win it. And we think in other places, okay, what risks and threats are in this place? If I can't totally remove them, let me put measures in place to mitigate them. Let me then limit the impact.
Yes.
For an example,
should something happen,
if there's no way that you have to walk through this specific door, okay, there is no other door. You have to walk through this one. Then let's make that corridor as safe as possible.
Right.
If not, let's find another way to do this, right? So a lot of our work, it's pre-planning.
Wow.
Medical is the big one.
Sure.
Because chances are you're going to trip and fall and break your ankle more than somebody's going to shoot you.
Yeah.
In your protection team, is there somebody that's medically equipped to assist with that?
Even on a first aid level.
Even just on a simple level.
Yeah.
Right? But, in instances, especially where you find is most people who need the services is people who are also a bit elderly. So you find that maybe they've got chronic conditions, they've got chronic medication, right? You find a lot of pastors who've got sicknesses that people don't even know because they're just old in nature. They're elderly people. Life just happens. So if you're traveling to Cape Town, is there a doctor that can help you when something happens to you? Not if, when it happens to you. Is there, and as your protection, maybe head of security or your advanced guy, have I met the doctor? Have I made contact? Hey, I'm coming, with a person of mine, they've got this chronic sickness. Have you got the medication? Can you assist? So it's a lot of it is planning, and what it does, it just makes things flow. So in an emergency, I just press a button. Hey, it's me, man. I'm on the way. Cool, Sandile. The stretcher's ready. The ambulance is on the way. Law enforcement, what's happening there? We're in touch with law enforcement. Hey, man, there's a roadblock taking this side. Don't come. We know you guys, right? Hey, dude, chances are these are law enforcement. Give them our number plates, guys. I'm in your city for 2-3 days. Man, if you hear any activities about these cars,
Let us know. Yeah.
It's me.
Oh,
it's
it's
my
you.
car.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe there's a bit of excessive speeding here and there.
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry, guys, it's me.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of planning
Wow.
that we do that people don't see.
That's good, man.
Right. What people see is a pastor rocking up to service
Yes.
10 minutes before
Yes.
and leaving after.
Ish.
But there's been hours and hours
Yes.
of manpower
Yes.
that happens before
Wow.
that pastor even gets on stage.
Sure. So
Yeah.
the elements that need to be protected in a church setup,
Yeah.
let's talk about them.
Yeah.
You've got the people, you've got the equipment,
Yeah.
there's money.
Yeah.
What else am I missing here?
Well, okay, I think let's do it from the outside.
Sure.
Then, okay, you've got the physical structure of the building. So there's that element, right? Then just the walls around that. Let's start there, right? And then as we walk in, we've got the parking lot.
Yes.
Well, what happens there?
Right, there's another spot, yeah.
There's another spot. As you walk in, you've got the hallway, almost like a... So just before, like almost like a holding area, so people are just hanging out.
Or
before
like a
service
foyer
starts.
kind
Yeah,
of thing.
that's the word. Yeah, you've got the foyer.
Yeah.
Right. What can happen there? It's a friction point
Sure.
where people are transitioning from one area into another.
Okay.
Right. There's that. Right. And then you've got your separate rooms, maybe
Sure.
like your Sunday school rooms.
Yes.
If you've got like your teenage church youth services that are happening, so you've got those elements, right? And then you've got the actual now auditorium, main auditorium, which has people in it, right? There's children that are there, and then there's assets that are there, right? There's the sound, there's the sound desk, which costs thousands,
Yay.
right? There's the lighting systems, there's the aisles where people are walking. There was a lady in America a couple of years ago. She went around finding loopholes in safety, in like safety-wise in churches,
Sure.
and she used to trip and fall and then sue the church and saying there were cables, on the floor that were not marked.
Wow. You should probably win the case.
Oh, she won the cases, and then they kind of like, whoa, it's the train. She's done this to like 4, 5, 7 churches.
My goodness.
Something as simple as that you don't even. So when you think about security, there's a safety element of it. Seems like just cablings, but South Africa is not at that level. But these things happen.
Yeah, these are realities.
Realities, right? And then then there's the equipment inside, and then there's the man of God that's delivering the word.
Sure.
So there's different elements or different things
that you must think about.
That all need to be protected some way or another.
I get you. So, I mean, when someone is listening and saying, okay, this is great. I mean, this is powerful what you're talking about, but this sounds like it costs money.
Yeah.
And we don't have the budget for that as a church. What can we do where we are?
Yeah, look, every church can start somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? If you've got volunteers, usher volunteers as a start, you are starting somewhere.
Yes.
Also, what pastors I think generally don't realize, because I think I'm just going to speak for the normal medium-sized church, is chances are in your church there is somebody who's got a security background. If you just ask.
Yes.
But we just don't even know to ask.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Chances are there is somebody maybe who's even got a law enforcement background, or that's even an active law enforcement member. Maybe they come to church on their off days. Right. There is somebody in that congregation that's got an idea about security, right? And you just gather those people and say, guys, we want to start something like this, right?
Yes.
So those conversations are the starter,
Sure.
right? And then you say, okay, then you bring in professional people, even just from a consultancy perspective, come and say, let's look at where we're lacking, and then what can we do?
Yeah.
It's not as big financially as people think it is, but it can be, right?
Yeah.
The moment now there's paid manpower.
Yes.
But in your normal church, I mean, I can tell you, I've worked for a church, right, for a while.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what I did as a security professional is I'm the one that did really just informal sit-downs with ushers.
Sure.
And I'll say, okay, guys, this is how we're gonna flow, work this. So when people are coming in, we're looking out for 1, 2, 3, 4. If you see something along these lines, report to this person. If you see this, report to this person, and then let the security professional deal with it. But here, if there is no conversation, nobody even knows what to even look for.
Right.
Right.
The signs are always there.
The signs are always there, man. Right. It's like somebody who gets robbed. And they're being asked, they'll always like, you know what? There was something.
As I saw that guy,
Yes,
man,
right.
how good he was behaving,
and it's that something that now it takes that, not even more than just a trained eye, because your intuition is there.
Sure.
Now, most people shut the intuition down
Yes.
as if like I'm seeing things.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
When in doubt, investigate.
Yes.
That's how we do it,
Okay.
man.
Okay.
Right?
I
I'd
like
rather
that.
investigate it and make impact with the person and find out there's nothing, instead of me saying, I knew it, but I didn't do
should
anything
have.
about it. I should have. Right? So every church, man, can start somewhere.
I get
Every
you.
church can do that.
Right.
Even just, posture, speaking to people, touching base with people. Because people who do these things, it doesn't just happen in a moment. Let's say somebody is coming to shoot a church. It's not going to happen now. Right? Yes, some are like, let's go in quickly, right? But, bad guys can see good structures when they're there. And they don't want that confrontation.
Right.
They don't want, bad guys want to get in and get out.
Yes.
And
the
they,
easy target.
yes.
Yeah.
Right. And the problem is with the church, they know that because people are so spiritual, they don't want to be earthly relevant.
Yeah.
They become
Yeah.
spiritually high but
Yeah.
earthly useless.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So and that's why now even in your element, even just your ushers, your normal ushers, right? Let there be a posture and a good appearance of, hey, I can see you. That when church is going on, I'm in church, but I'm not part of the service. Right now, as an usher, for an example, I'm not here to be blessed. I'm here to offer a service and to be a blessing to others.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, and I'll say, as a security professional, when God is moving, people, their hands are up, people are crying. Man, now, as the bad guy, that's the perfect moment for me.
Yes.
Because now I know everybody is
Yes. Out
right.
of it. No one is watching.
Nobody's watching, right? But now, as the usher and the security guy, now I must think like the bad guy.
Yes.
So when everybody is hands up, now I'm like, okay, I'm watching the aisles.
Yes.
Now I'm like, okay. So now what I'm looking for is an anomaly. So if on this aisle, it's an aisle that goes 20 down,
Yeah.
and out of 20 people, one person is sitting down out of the 20, automatically, okay. I mean, it's, okay, they could just be tired, right? But now if out of the 20, that one person is not only sitting down, but they're sitting down and looking around.
Easy. Anxious.
Okay, yeah, because now I'm like, okay, there's something now to look at them. But what you will find is maybe that person, when they walked in, they told the usher, stuff you, when tried to greet them. Or in the parking lot, they kicked somebody's car. Or so that didn't just happen there. There was a process that led to that person getting there and being able to commit. So something as simple as your cell phone has been stolen. I mean, imagine you're there, you're in church, you
Then
come
your
out
bag,
and
someone, yeah.
so that's element of security. What thing
good,
is,
man.
people are thinking of the pastor moving with bodyguards. We're
Yeah.
not even there yet.
Yeah.
Just your normal
There's so much more. Yeah.
Just your normal. I don't do me so day to day. Cell phones getting stolen, people's bags,
Yeah.
being stolen.
Yeah.
Imagine your bag gets stolen and your car keys are there. Somebody just drives off with your car. Just drive. Just drive. How do you explain
Easy
that?
drive, yeah.
How do you explain that?
And we don't have systems at the gate
No.
to verify which wing and bell.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you are the owner of this car.
You're the owner's car, right? So it's small things that when we can win those small battles, then
Right.
the bigger one, which is now the man coming in with a gun,
Yeah.
those things will, I won't say be totally won, because now that's a real war,
Sure.
but they'll be limited because even the man is coming with a gun, he can see, okay, wow. Okay, somebody stopped me. Somebody made contact. Somebody greeted me. Somebody was even just nice to me. You've got, we underestimate how just even being nice
Yep.
can actually get someone to be like,
Yeah.
maybe not today. Because people are still people, man. Right? Especially in a church environment where there's still that element of respect. Even when the bad guy who does not care about God, but when he's there, trust me, he's more nervous than you.
Wow.
Because he knows that what he's doing, it's really bad.
Yeah.
I mean, everything that they do is bad. But
Yeah.
man, like, these people are just innocently just
Sure,
serving God,
sure.
and you really gonna come and do
Yeah,
that.
that,
But he
yeah.
knows he's gonna get away with it.
Yeah.
Because the church does not have those measures in
Yeah,
place to
yeah.
stop that from happening.
Yeah.
And now that's where now you're more harder, more visible.
Yeah.
Security happens. Even at the gates, we don't do this. I mean, during your services, just have a security company just patrolling. I mean, that costs next to nothing.
Yes.
Just be like, hey man, for this maybe 2 hours before service and 2 hours before, just during that time, just be around.
Patrol. Yeah. It's some kind of deterrent.
It's a massive deterrent,
Yeah.
right? And you will find once again, maybe at the church, there's somebody who's got a security company, or believe it or not, there's a heathen that hates God down the road. It's got a security company, but you know what? He'll help you because it's gonna make him feel good.
Of course.
He's done something for a church. I'm serious.
I like that.
I'm serious.
These are the real things.
These are the real things. So sometimes in the church we try to spiritualize it.
Yeah.
You know, I once worked with a client, and I knew that he was in the church in the church industry, and I knew that some of his guys were not Christian guys.
Oh, like his team.
Yeah, his team.
Yeah.
Like I knew it. And I'm like, but wait, sir. But so he's like, yeah, I know. And I'm like, why? He said, because they're good at what they do.
Simple.
I'm like, wait. He's like, no, like they're really good at what they do. And one day I hope during the services or when we go to church, God will touch them.
Yes.
But I can't do that.
But I mean, we allow non-Christian construction companies build our churches. Why is ngafuna people? We need to think out of the box.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So and the service, look, it's great when it's protected by Christian people, right? Because also now, let's maybe move in now and say like the men of God, because that's where the contention comes.
Yes.
Why does a pastor have bodyguards?
Yeah.
Right? Because remember, you're not just protecting the man, you're protecting the anointing on this man's life, which is a different perspective altogether, right? He walks past, I think it was about 2 ladies. So, bembone, but it's like, wait, could it be? You know that moment.
Yeah.
So as they're doing that, they turn and I look as with them. I'm like, just please don't. And they're like, and then they walk away.
Yeah.
But now as they're doing that, more people are doing that. Next thing is like, how put this? How put this Tom? And then after a while, it's like 2 people, 3 people, 4 people. Now
the risk is growing.
And it's not a bad risk. It's not people who do evil.
Yeah.
But at that moment, it could be somebody that's maybe taking a picture and maybe they just pull something and it falls. I'll tell you this one. And it could be somebody that's there as an opportunist. A woman is going to take a picture, hold him around here. He'll put his hand, harassment. Thought about that one.
Wow. Entrapment.
Oh, done. Right?
Wow.
So I've worked for a client where he said, I will never take a picture with a woman alone. Okay. Even if it's a public, he'll always just find we pull some random person
to be in
or we just make sure there's a gap.
Sure.
Like we will literally be like, okay, then we're out of the picture. Done. Right.
Yeah.
So it's elements where the thing is when people think church security and pastor, it's this big, massive things. Man. Imagine on Sunday morning, not on Sunday morning, let's say whatever, somebody, a woman takes a picture with that, right? And let me paint a picture for you. That woman is going through a marital issue with her husband who hates the church because his wife loves the church more than she loves him at home. His wife is more committed to serving in the ministry than she is in serving him at home. Sunday she takes a picture with him, with a pastor, and the husband sees that, I knew it when Nana Lomfundi Swak have got something going on. Our job is to protect against
even those kinds of things. Yeah.
Right.
It's amazing, man.
So there's a lot to it. It's unfortunate, and so unfortunate that when people see it, it's always overboard.
Yes.
And unfortunately, they see it with people whose character has been questionable.
Yes.
In using the church for ill gains.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas with pastors who don't have that, you've never heard it. Because their security team comes in there, they move, they smooth, they do their thing, they're in and they're out.
That's good.
Yeah.
Let's get into the mind of a potential assailant. Right? Yeah. What's going on in their minds? You did say some threats are posed by innocent people, but being asked what they're doing is actually a threat or could be dangerous for them. But a person who's got intentions.
Yeah.
What? Firstly, what's in their minds? What are their intentions?
Yeah.
Or rather, let me say, what's motivating that?
Yeah,
Is it mental health? Is it extremism? Is it I disagree with your views?
Yeah.
What are these people thinking who are actually intentional about
in a church context? It's definitely a views issue. Okay, it's views and finances.
And
yeah. Serious, right?
Yeah.
Those are really the big, I think, things. It's I'm against your views, so maybe I could be an extremist to the other end. On the other side, maybe you taking our family away from us because maybe they believed a certain religion, they came to the church, God touched their lives, they converted to Christianity, and now you, the man of God, are the person that now separated that family structure, right? It could be that image of money that churches are getting tax-free money, so why is this money not being used in communities for this? Why are you driving this car? Meanwhile, the community is disgruntled. There's somebody in your church that didn't eat tonight.
Sure.
So we want that money that you have. Right. So it's various reasons. But I think in this context, it's really views issue and that perception, and sometimes it's true, of finances, of financial gain.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So in terms of, and you've touched a bit on these things, when a guy is actually going to do something.
Yeah.
How, if we say we are putting ourselves in the mind or in his mind.
Yeah.
What should we be doing? Should we be thinking uzongena phi?
Yeah.
Should we be thinking where are the opportunities that he's going to see? Take us into the mind of these people. Look,
I think for you gotta think like a bad guy to catch that bad guy.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that's why sometimes in our planning, you kind of go into, I won't say a dark space, but you go into an interesting space.
What would I do?
Okay, right. And the crazy thing is, sometimes what I do is when I see protection teams moving, I look for loopholes. I mean, not just to okay, they just got out the car. If I was a bad guy, where would I be? Okay, they just walked into this building. I'll see somebody walking maybe into a restaurant where I'm sitting with a client. I'm like, your client got around the corner before you, so I'm the bad guy. So you gotta think as the bad guy in order for you to catch the bad guy, right? Sure. And sometimes it can be a bit of a critical space for Christian people to do, because it's evil. I can't think like that. Look, you think way more evil things when you're by yourself. Please, chill out, right? Here we're thinking evil, not evil thoughts. We're thinking, in fact, like the evil person doesn't make us evil. We are being skilled, we are skilled professionals and trying to see what if I was the bad guy, what would I do? And then as the good guy, let me put measures in place to stop that from happening. Sure. Right? So, man, if it's movement, like moving with a client, there's something we call them transition spaces.
Okay.
So from building to car, that small loop, that small space. I mean, you'll see a lot of things that happen. They happen when the client is moving either from a building into a car or from a car into a building. I think right now there's about 60% of incidents happen in that space. Oh. So that's a critical space, right? So, or maybe from the airport into a car. Yes. So there's these transitional spaces moving from this, from the auditorium into the green room, that space. So if somebody's going to try attack you or do whatever, chances are it's going to be there. Right?
Does something like moving from an airport to a hotel?
Yes.
Is that also?
Movement. That's hectic. On the road, right? On the road. Because especially because preachers, their itinerary is out.
Yeah. You know where he will be.
And he promoted. I'm going to be here. So if I'm a bad guy and I've got resources, bro, you know how easy it is to get information about people right now.
Wow.
Like if I know that you are going to be in Durban for a conference and you are a so-and-so, chances are you're going to fly to Durban.
Yes.
Chances are you're going to get there the day before.
Yeah.
Chances are in Durban there's so many profile hotels you're going to stay at.
Yeah.
Right? Chances are there's only maybe 3 routes that are going to get you there. Right?
Wow.
So if I've got the time and the resources, man, I don't care who you are. If the bad guy's got enough time and resources, they can get really close to you. And what it takes for them then not to make impact or bang, we call it a bang, right, in the industry, what keeps them left of the bang is the measures that you have put in place.
Right.
And even them seeing that, hey man, that team is moving a certain way. You know, you can see like those drivers know how to drive. You know, those guys working with the client are working in a manner that's professional. Because remember, the bad guy is most of them are even trained better than some of the good guys.
Wow.
So they know what to look out for.
Right.
But for your normal guy that's going to walk into a church with a gun, chances, man, it's not people who have planned this for years. It's like, no, there's nothing there. Or they will come to church for a couple of services. Think about that one now. The bad guy will come to church for a couple of services and he'll just observe. Okay.
And so it's collecting intel.
Oh yeah, it's just going to intel. Okay, so the offering moves from this side to this side. Okay, cool. So in this building, I can tell you for sure that money is in that wing. Okay, let's just observe. Just observe. Just observe. Then one day they decide, I know this Sunday we're going in. Boom. Right. So the bad guy gathers information. Most of the time, he'll gather information. And it takes some sort of security barrier to stop that from happening. Whether it's something as small as, you know, a cell phone being stolen or something as big as people coming in with guns. There's an element of security there that can always stop that or stop the impact of it. For an example, I mean, if bad guys are going to come in with guns, if they can see we're not going to get out, they're not going to come in. That's just the, you know, they don't want confrontation. I mean, there's a church I've been to in Joburg, both for work and, you know, as a, you know, for a service. No, look, the church doesn't play, man. Like you rock up there, guys are, you know, are like rolling in AR, big rifles. So I get in the church, I'm like, I love this. When I'm in the parking lot, and people are like, hey, why? Right? So imagine that we both seeing the same thing, but our reactions and perspective is different. Because my head is not in the sand saying it's not going to happen to me. I'm thinking when it happens, I'm glad that guy he's on my team. So we got to change the perspective that the security people that are there to protect us. You know, these are our sheepdog, as to say, protecting the sheep, us against the wolf that's coming in.
I get you. Let's close off by talking about specific security points, right? We've spoken about the pastor as something that needs measures around. But then I want us to look at children, and I want us to look at finances. I've seen churches be very careless with money. They collect the offering and count it just here. And it's us ushers. There's no security person, just the ushers counting money. And I think that's bad. You know, like, but what can we do around children? What can we do around money?
Look, I mean, children, man, as I say, children are the future, right? And one thing I think I commend churches for is a lot of churches have put a lot of just infrastructure and finances into, you know, children ministries. I mean, you get that there's programs and those things are good and well, right? But something as a simple check-in, check-out process. So when kids are coming in, there has to be a way to log that Sandile dropped off Sia. This is my child.
This is the child,
right? So maybe there's some sort of, maybe even just a scanning, a barcode system, for an example, right? Okay. Oh, okay. So Usia, only 3 people are authorized to pick this person up. It's myself, maybe my brother, and my cousin. Those only thing. I don't care if anybody else comes here crying tears of blood. They cannot. No one
else.
Right? But then now you got to have an enforcer of that, which is not the Sunday school teacher. Because she's not that. She's not going to do that. Right? So that if there's that friction, who are they calling now to be like, hey, we've got this issue. The document says, you know, Usia can only be picked up by 1, 2, 3. This person has come. Please intervene and sort it out. Right? So there got to be check-in and check-out measures between the Sunday school teacher or team that's taking in the kids from X and handing them over to somebody else. And that's a quick win. That's the quickest one, man. Okay, cool. But obviously gathering that data at the beginning is going to be a bit difficult because you're starting fresh data.
But you got to go through the process.
You got to go through the process, right? I mean, now every church has got has got a laptop.
Yes.
Right, even if it's just a volunteer that's bringing their own laptop to assist. That every church nowadays has. So something just as simple as that.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
let's just get the. Okay, so Usia, who are the parents? Cell phone numbers, contact details, where do they stay, etc., etc. Who are the authorized guardians for this kid? That
Sure.
should the parent maybe something happen, they got to rush out of church.
Sure.
Who can the parent send to pick up the child?
Sure.
That's a quick win. It doesn't need money.
Yeah. I was at a church where I drop off the kids.
Yeah.
The kids get given a number.
Yeah.
And that corresponds to something else I was given, like a token.
Yeah, and those two
And these
speak
things,
to each other or they
so
click. Yeah.
the child's number needs to correspond to the number I'm having.
Yeah.
And then there's someone who's observing the attitude and the reaction of the child
Yeah.
when I approach.
Yeah.
Is the child comfortable?
Yeah.
Is the child happy to see? Someone like that as well. Do I know the name of the child?
Yeah.
Do I, it's those kind of things. I like that.
And it costs no money. Even something as simple. I mean, just take two numbers or two, whatever, 3 and 3. You get one. We get a purple 3. I get a purple 3. So even
Just
if
that.
it's an emergency, right? And you give me, hey, Sandile, please pick up my child, man. Because we've got a relationship,
Yes.
And Uncle Sandile, okay, boom, and it's done.
Sure.
But there's been some sort of check or vetting, which
yes.
is who's picking up the child.
Yes.
And that alone is a big safety net.
Sure.
Because, for an example, let's look at the marital dispute you spoke about.
Yeah.
So now let's say maybe there's been a court order.
Yeah.
And the court has ruled that dad cannot be in contact
Sure.
with the child.
Sure.
Right? So even
Wow.
if dad comes,
He can't.
and he can't.
Yeah.
But this is where it gets interesting. Good luck trying to stop a man that
Ish.
wants his daughter.
Hey, bro.
And you've got no professional services to stop that.
Yes, yes.
Oh man, that man is a raging lion. He'll rip every system apart, get his daughter and leave. So if you don't have professional security to speak to that man, to make him understand, and you don't have contact maybe to law enforcement or whatever, then you're in trouble.
Sure. But also, let's look at the people who are trusted to teach the children.
Right. All right.
Background checks.
Yeah.
Vetting.
So yeah. In fact, I was gonna touch on the
Sure.
finances,
Yeah.
but since you're here, right?
Yeah.
So even now as a church, when you're setting up your children's ministry, even your current ones, man, ID numbers, fingerprints. See, this must be a job application like you do in your
Yes,
workplace.
yes.
Okay, cool. You are interested in kids ministries. Why? Okay, cool. Okay, fine. Give us 2 weeks, whatever, and let's go do our check. So the church pays whatever, they go somewhere, get a criminal record. Is there anything that's implicating these people or persons against child molestation in the future? Any sexual harassment
Yes,
issues?
yes.
Any criminal cases that are pending or anything in this person's life that can put them in the space where now they've got access to these kids. So not anybody and everybody should have access to your kids.
Right.
I mean, it makes no sense that I can walk into a church, I can decide I'm gonna volunteer, and in my old church I was a Sunday school teacher. How? Yeah, no, okay, cool. Come stand up.
It was.
And I'm done.
We've not even vetted if that's true.
No, nothing.
Were you even a Sunday school teacher?
Nothing. Or even if I was, why maybe did I get fired or let go or whatever?
Yeah.
Right? Something as basic as that, but we don't think about it. But we do it we do it at work.
Right.
Why?
Right.
Because we're thinking of this from a spiritual element. If we pray hard enough, it's not gonna happen.
Sure,
Forget it.
Sure.
You are wasting your prayer. You're praying about the wrong thing.
Sure.
That's not what you should pray for. Is the right people for the
Right,
job.
right.
You can't pray that it doesn't happen to us. Pray for wisdom to put measures in place.
Right.
Pray for strategies.
Yes.
Right. And
Yes.
ideas. How can we make this
Be
happen?
prepared.
Be
Yeah.
prepared.
Yeah.
How
Sure.
are his kids going there when the church is paying him 30,000? How can he afford school fees of 40,000?
Whatever. Yeah.
Balance me out here. Right? So, but it takes it takes the man to get his head out of the sand and saying, let me be street smart, let me be realistic.
Wow.
Right? You're not going to pray away somebody stealing your money. No, just have measures in place.
I get you.
Right? Have catchment areas in place. I mean, when taking an offering, I was laughing there one time. I hope I don't offend somebody's offering bags.
Yeah.
But you find an offering bag has got an opening and it's almost got a zip at the other side. I'm like, well, it doesn't really help much, does it? I mean, you putting it in, I'm zipping it out.
There's a zip, yeah.
So even things as simple as that, like, so your hard cash, how are you collecting that? Those bags, how easily accessible are they?
What bothers me is also the resistance that is there in the church when we try to move away from cash.
Yeah.
And we're bringing speed points and
the
resistance.
We're not going to run away from it. That will always be there, the cash element, especially in our country.
Yeah.
Right? No, we're not going to. Because also, you see, the speed point thing, I know this sounds whatever, but hey, whatever, right? Then it looks like we are collecting money. Because also remember, there's, and okay, I'll say for me, right? I feel, for lack of a better, I feel more giving to God in cash than I do in an EFT transfer, and most people do, and we're not going to run away from that.
How can we change that though? It's not safe.
No,
it's not safe.
Put measures in place. That's the only thing, because you're not going to run away from it.
Imagine 100,000 rand in a building, and
easily
the thugs in the neighborhood, Kokasi, where the church is, they know this.
Then put measures in place to make sure that the thugs don't have access to it. I mean, as whatever is the sound, that's why we're not going to run away from cash as in the church, in churches. You're not.
Man.
It's just it's not gonna happen. The speed point thing, it's good, it's great, you know, and it makes more sense for the academic, for the cashless society. But especially in South Africa, we are not in a place where everybody is tapping. People are using cash, and it feels more spiritual giving hard cash.
There's an emotional bond to it.
It feels more spiritual. The man of God praying for the envelope. Then I'm being real, man. I'm in the church. I know this. So the moment it's like EFT, I'm like, Cody. No, come on. It has that element of it doesn't feel right or it doesn't feel Christian, which is totally not true.
Sure.
Right, but we're not gonna. It's gonna be there for many years.
Advise us a bit in terms of handling of the cash. From basket. Until the money leaves the building. So just some things we can put in place.
Look, I think a very overt, over the board view of we can see the bag. Like, you know, ushers mustn't be like ashamed, like, oh no, you monitor that bag like it's your own money moving down the aisle. Right? And then obviously around that collection point, there gotta be some sort of buffer and resistance now between the congregation and where now that money has been counted. Right? Then obviously, you know, maybe in there have some sort of safe, like so basically have maybe a strong room, if you can, like a room with like almost impenetrable, and then in the room have a safe where now that money is stored. So you're putting just measures in place. Then you've got people that are there showing, hey, now here nobody's going in here, right? And then have a process of how is that money counted? Is it counted on the spot there, or is it kind of like a drop safe thing? We collect it, we put it in there. It's counted, you know, somewhere else, or it's gotten and looked after, and then it's moved from there to the bank, and there use a professional money moving facilities.
Because that's another important. There's a big respect.
No, this thing umfundisi ufake imali ebhuthini yemoto. Angithi even he is gonna borrow there for his microwave at home, and it's gonna say, no, imali kaJehova, I'll refund it next week, and it's not gonna happen. Right, so even holding the pastor accountable for those finances in that movement of so now the money is here, now the money is moving from the building to the bank. Who's responsible for that, and how to ensure there's no leakage between those right? So you gotta be sober. I mean, call companies that deal with moving money. Just call them in and say, look, we want to strengthen our money moving process.
Talk to us.
Talk to us. As a specialist, I'm not a specialist in that. And I'll be the first one to say, I don't do that. I'm not a specialist in that. Right? I'm a specialist with people, not with money and assets. Right? There are people who specialize in that. Man, who will tell you there's a specific safe you can use. Once you put money in, it auto locks maybe within 20 seconds, and you can't open it for 3 hours. They can manipulate. I mean, there are safes that are like that. Right? So maybe you have a safe system that, look, it's a drop safe system. Once it's in, this safe cannot be opened for 3 hours, come hell or high water. This safe is impenetrable. right?
Sure.
Or maybe say it needs fingerprints of 3 different people, or keys that are come together from 3. So it's not one person that's responsible. It's about, I think, spreading that responsibility and risk. That you know that should money be missing, it's only one of those 3 people. In fact, it's 2 of them, because 2 of them are needed to even open that safe.
Is there a way we can collect intel as a church for ourselves? In the community, in the environment? I know this is highly specialized in intelligence. To see, is someone talking about targeting the church? Is someone talking about targeting the pastor? Are there ways, or do we just have to just get a professional for intel?
You have to. Look, you don't specialize in this. It's and the sad thing about security is everybody thinks they can do security. Everybody
until the moment,
right? I mean, I've worked for amazing clients who are captains of industries. Like JSE listed companies, you get there, and he'll start telling you what to do. Why? Because in his industry, he's the boss, and that's why he needs you guys, because he's dominated specific areas of his life. So that transfer of you actually know this better than me, it's very tough. And I understand, and it takes a lot of aha moments for them to finally let go and say, you know what, you actually are the security guy. Do your job. I'm not going to tell you how to drive. Because the moment maybe you drive a specific way, he's like, why are you doing that? And you got to give him an intelligent answer. So it's because of 1, 2, 3. I don't need that. You just keep on probing. It's like, I see it. Then you're like, it takes time, right? So even in your intelligence, you have to get a professional. Right? But even just start with the normal law. I mean, go to the closest police station. Right? And that's the best thing churches can do. Just build relationship. Just build. Here's a cheap way to get security in a Sunday morning. I'll tell you for free. Go to your police station. Sundays, in most areas, Sundays are really chilled. Right? Go to a police station. Meet maybe the captain. You know, the highest ranking professional. They say to them, look, guys, on Sunday, I've run a cookies and I just run some cookies and coffee. For law enforcement and security personnel. They're outside my gate. You watch how many cops are going to be stopping there. You're just offering tea.
Just the presence of cops there.
Even just your local security companies. Say, hey guys, every Sunday morning, every Sunday evening, there's a station there. We just want to thank you and honor you guys for the work you're doing in the community. As our way to give back to the church is we're just going to have some tea and coffee there and some biscuits. Hey guys, please feel free to come around.
I've seen garages, like fuel stations do that. They give free coffee. And that presence, that in and out, helps with the deterrent factor.
That alone is a start.
Good.
Right? Because also then that's where also other security guys are talking. And then as a church, then you designate maybe like if you don't have a professional, maybe like a head usher, that he's the one that's contacting those people in there. Hey, Constable so and so, hey, thanks. Hey, so this week, just listening. Okay, because that's how these things get out. That's how guys just talk. It's a relaxed environment. You're just grabbing a coffee. Hey, so how's your week been, man? No, what's happening? You know, how's your family doing? And guess what? That's also now church now ministering to those people. And now you're winning those people over, not just for a service, but into the house of God. Sure. Because now, for the first time, the church is actually doing something in the community.
Yes.
Right? Now you've won those people from a security perspective. So they are winning and you are winning.
I get you.
And it's really, how much is coffee going to cost a week? Right? And it doesn't have to be anything extravagant. Buy a coffee machine, put it there, and somebody just runs it. You welcome those people with warm hands, and you have discussions with them. And trust me, if you are listening, you'll hear something. That Konintwana, there was a car that was stolen, that was recovered. So cars are being stolen. and just gathering information, right? It's just information. Now, when it's intelligence, it's a different. But for now, you just need information. What is happening?
And you'll be able to pick it up quickly.
And you can pick it up quickly because now you are interacting with the people who've got access to the information, and it's going to cost you 2 cups of coffee.
Good, man. Someone's listening here, man. they might want to get a hold of you
Yeah.
to consult.
Yeah.
How can they do that?
Look, so a lot of work that I do right now, the consultation part, it's from
Sure.
it's through a company called AAB Security Consultants.
all right.
So I mean, we'll drop a link.
Yes,
I think,
right there, yeah.
we can put a link there, right? So I am through there.
Right.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I think on my
AAB.
but we'll
Sure.
put a link there,
Sure.
right? Because in a personal capacity, I don't have the capacity to do that as a person.
Sure.
Right. So AAB, it's a friend of mine, security company. So he's also comes from church security.
Sure.
We met through church security,
Lovely,
actually,
lovely,
right?
lovely.
And so we've come together for the past couple of months, putting just plans, especially. So the one big thing that we want to do, really, we're working on now, is actually going out and training churches and training ushers. And so we want to take our experience, our expertise, our knowledge, mixed with real life
Yeah.
street realities,
Yeah.
and bring them to the church and say, look, this is what you look out for. These are the measures. We even get to the point where it's even documentation. What policies are there in place
Yes.
that are enabling you as an usher to do this? Because somebody can say, well, I feel targeted. Why did you not do this to person A and you did it to me? Why me? The usher could have been able to answer.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what we're working on now. Going,
Beautiful,
training
beautiful.
churches and ushers just to have that
Yes.
eyes open.
I think
Yeah.
it's so important. We need to have our eyes open, be more vigilant,
Yeah.
and stop being naive.
Yeah.
This thing is not going to happen to us.
Yeah.
The ones that are being hit are the ones who least expected it.
Yes.
We're not watching.
Yeah.
So, but I love what you said, that when criminal elements see the movement and see systems,
Yeah.
that alone makes them think twice.
Of course,
And
right.
they're
And the
like,
nice
"Oh,
thing with the system is it's not about a person; it's
Yeah.
a system. So even if I leave, somebody else can
Someone
jump
can
in,
run it.
and the process won't be disturbed. It's
I
still
love
going to
it.
carry
I
on.
love it, man.
Yeah.
Man, I hope people have learned. I know they've learned something great from this.
No, thank you.
And we should, like we've been talking, we should do something for the church.
Yeah.
To educate it.
Yeah.
But we'll let people know what's going to materialize. But I want to thank you. Thank you
No.
for sharing your heart on this and your expertise.
Thank you.
on this as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Thank you for trusting me. I think
Yeah.
with your audience.
Yes, sir.
I think thank you for for the privilege, man. I think for me to share
Yeah.
my part of the story
Yeah.
and really something that's affecting, I think, the Christian community.
Yeah, man, big
And
time.
and it takes, I think, people like yourselves and I to stand up and say, let's get the conversation
Yes,
started.
yes,
as,
yes.
as a bare minimum.
Yes.
Let's talk about it. And then once we talk about it, we can do something about
Yes.
it. So thanks a
great
lot, my
stuff.
brother.
We appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Sandile Khanyile, security expert. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe, please. The details are there of his company and how you can get hold of them for consultation and actual security services that might be needed. I appreciate you spending your time with us. Share this, please, and do subscribe to the channel. From us, it's goodbye. Thank you so much.